if you've been through some traumatic things in your life and you're struggling with processing them or struggling with resolving them, go seek professional help.
So I'm here today with my special guest, Laycee Gwyther. How are you, Laycee?
I'm so good. I'm so grateful to be here. How are you, Cindy?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's interesting because for those of you who listen to the program, listen to my podcast, I typically have guests on that are women of a certain age, right? And so, Laycee, you are officially the youngest guest I've had on so far. And there's a reason I wanted you to come on because you have done things it's so far in your life that you're so far ahead of so many of us, like so many people my age, you're so far ahead of them because you've had to, because of the things you've gone through so far in your life. You've learned valuable lessons. You've taken things with you, and you have created a life at age 34 that most women would die for, right? And I want to hear from you directly. What have you done differently than other women your age that has set you on this course for such massive success? So I'm going to kind of pick your brain today. I want to start with who you are, where you came from, what your life has been like up until this point, if you can kind of encapsulate that for us.
Yeah, so my name is Laycee Gwyther. I am a lot of things. I am a multi-business owner, so I would just say I'm a full-fledged entrepreneur. I'm a hairstylist by trade. I'm a cosmetologist. I've been a hairstylist for 16 years. I'm getting ready to retire that part of my life. It's
Great.
kind of bittersweet to think about that, but that has served such a good purpose. But for where I'm kind of going in my life for the next stages, I'm having to retire a little bit sooner than other people, which is a blessing, but also kind of comes with a little bit of hardship. We own a salon suite company. That's our main business. So we own a commercial real estate building where we have individual rooms built out that we lease out to beauty professionals that offer hair, skin, nail, massage, barber, tattoo, every beauty service you can think of. We offer inside of our building. And we're expanding that company this year into this next year. And so we'll double down and we'll go from 22 suites to adding 28 more with some executive offices. So we're really just in this season of expansion. I am a business coach and a consultant, and I coach in an organization that I obviously met you in, and then also launching my own coaching on digital platforms, and I invest in real estate. So I just do a lot of different things. But first and foremost, like I love being an educator and an entrepreneur and teaching people how to run and operate a business and live their life at the fullest because it's worked for me. And so I just like to help other people.
And you are a great teacher.
Thank
Very,
you.
I've had the opportunity to be under you a couple of times, and you're fantastic. So I want to know what it is, because you have a childhood you have a story. You have a
Yes.
story. So do you want to share part of that with us?
Yeah. I grew up, I would say, I want to say like not traditionally, but I find that it's more common that people have gone through the things I've gone through now that I'm kind of a little bit older and on the other side. I grew up in a home where my parents were divorced when I was at a really young age, and in between two different states. It was a really tumultuous relationship between the two of them, and spending summers at one home and being school years at another home, and back and forth in between holidays, and step parents and more kids and stuff. So there was just like a lot of dynamic for a lot of shifting and changing and kind of a lot of chaos when I was younger. And I didn't really have a lot of rules when I was younger. So I hung out with a really bad crowd really early on. And so I became a drug addict at the age of like 13 years old is when I really started divulging into, um, I would say, smoking marijuana, and then with the party drugs. And by the time I had reached my freshman year, I started really getting into some legal trouble, having my stomach pumped in a hospital. And then by the time I was 18, I went to a drug rehab facility and started cleaning up my life. I just woke up one day and was like, I want more. And I know that I'm worth more. It was just, I can't describe really what it was. It was just like this realization of like, I'm done, which I think is really unique because not a lot of people have that.
Yes.
It was just a choice that I made. But I was making the wrong choices to fill voids and holes from trauma and from abuse and everything. And so I think that I always knew that I was worth more, but I was like kind of succumbing to the environment and to the cycle of toxicity that I had grown up in. And I just made the decision like, I don't want this anymore. And I went to rehab at 18 and I've been sober ever since. So almost 16 years. And I now own the drug rehab center that I went to. It is now the building that my beauty professionals operate in. So it's been a beautiful, I don't know, circle like of life in this opportunity. I feel like in this season of my life, I'm starting to be able to experience opportunities or right life wrongs now that I'm older and I'm getting a second chance at them. So living in the house I live in is the same build out and the same layout as the house that I grew up in with my mom just down the street. But now I'm building this house to be a home instead of living in a broken home. I own the drug rehab center. So I went to get a chance at life. Now I give chances at life. So it's just been really beautiful how my life is kind of transformed. And I went into the beauty industry because I grew up in the beauty industry and I thought, if I want to stop getting in trouble, I can go to beauty school, go to my grandparents' school, and it should be easy. And I'm really good at telling myself that things will be easy and then walking myself right into hard things. But I stayed committed with it because I wanted to make my grandparents proud and I wanted to stay out of trouble. And so then I worked in a salon for a long time, 6.5 years, and I was really miserable. I met my now husband during that time, and he really encouraged me to open up a business and kind of work for myself. One, because I could make more money. Two, because he saw some things in me that I didn't see. And three, he just wanted more for us. And then he's also the one that said, let's open a salon suite company. Like, you're an educator, teach these people how to run a business. You see there's a need, let's fill it and let's fix it. And I would love to give you this opportunity to create what works for us and really change the game. So really a lot of my success too is myself and my commitment, but really my husband is the biggest believer in what we are doing. And now that we've created so much momentum, I'm like found my purpose and my passion, and really just who I've always wanted to be is who I am currently in this season of my life. So it's just been this beautiful, weird, rocky, shocking journey. But it all started with just living, kind of growing up in a broken home and hanging out with the wrong people, ironically enough.
It's interesting because I don't hear this story very often. I was a drug addict at 13. Like, that's crazy. That's so young. And then you admitted yourself into rehab at age 18, right? That was just a
Yep.
self-generated decision. You just woke up and said, I'm not doing this anymore, because that's a very mature decision for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I was Mother's Day. And I don't know, like, I told the story before, like, I don't really know why that day was different. Like, it was just, I woke up and I just internally felt different. Obviously, my body was not feeling great because it was starting to kind of go through the withdrawals because it had been probably like a solid day since I had used the last time. And so my physical body was really feeling gross, but like my internal intuition was just like, you got to be done with this. And I was just in a relationship with somebody that was much older than me at the time too. And he had actually gotten in trouble and called me and asked me to come bail him out because I was 18 years old now. I could do that. And I just was like, no,
No,
I'm not going to do that.
yeah.
And I didn't. And I just, like I said, I just kind of made the decision and I was like, no, this isn't working for me. And then I called a friend, and I'm really grateful for that day because she was there within like 20 minutes
Yeah.
and then took me to the rehab facility. I checked in, and then they took me to an inpatient facility where I was there for 47 days.
Wow. So you really did need that time to detox.
Yes, I was
Wow.
supposed to get out July 3rd, and I had requested to stay until July 5th. So that's why it's typically 30 to 45-day programs. But mine was 47 just because I had knew myself well, that I was in high school. I was also in a college program. I lived on my own, and I also was a drug addict. Like, I was functioning, and I think I knew that I was capable of so much more if I could manage school, two jobs, living on my own, and a drug problem at the same time. That's like a really dangerous, I'll just say dangerous combination. I was just aware enough to be like, well, I have so much potential because I'm doing these things. I don't need to use, because if I do this, I'm not going to be able to do these other things.
Yeah,
And part of me just was like, I want to see more of the world. Like, I got more of this world to turn upside down. So I don't really know where that really came from. It was just, I made the decision, and I stayed committed to it.
that's huge because most people that age don't have that ability, right? Because you were on a trajectory for disaster, really. I mean,
Hmm.
most people in that situation, they would be at age 34 where you are now, they'd still be in a very, very bad negative situation because that's hard to get out of. When you're addicted, I mean, that is a stronghold that is very, very hard to break, especially as an 18-year-old. So obviously you had something in you, you had some kind of grit in you that your life had prepared you to it. And I know growing up in a divorced family with a lot of trauma and a lot of abuse, that probably I'm thinking made you strong and made you able to look at things and say, no more.
Yeah, I had really experienced like both of my parents being remarried to other people, which is totally fine. Families are blended all the time. But, when people have their own things going on, or people are young, my parents were real young, like when they had me, like early 20s. And so now that I'm older, I have a different perspective of what being early 20 is.
Right.
And like, I couldn't imagine at that stage of my life being able to manage just the emotion and the stress and, generational stuff and maybe unhealed trauma, or people just try to do the best that they can with what they can too. I have a lot of grace for my parents and a lot of forgiveness for them. But I think that when you involve other people too that are like that too, maybe some unhealed virgins, or there's other toxic relationships, it kind of just adds fuel to the fire. And that's something I experienced. It wasn't just my parents, it was their significant others. And my parents have been married multiple times. So it's multiple people in and out over the years. And like, I don't care what people do with their lives, but when you're raising children, and that it could go either way. And for me, it just happened to be that there were a lot of good things about my childhood and a lot of things that I appreciate about my parents with some of the parenting moves that they did do. But there's also a lot of things that I was like, this like really stuck with me and really affected me in not the right way. And not just me, but other siblings. I can just only speak for myself. I just didn't want to repeat that. I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be like that. And so I think that's what really gave me that grit and that drive, is I was like, no, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't want to be like that.
So
Um,
at this point in your life, in other relationships you have, when do you identify toxic patterns a lot more easily because you've been through it? And are you able to, because a lot of people tend to repeat the same patterns because we only know what we know. And so we'll seek out toxic relationships to sort of mimic our childhoods, right?
oh
So,
yeah, absolutely. I
so
want to say that I did that for a long time, even recently. Like, I think if you've been through some traumatic things in your life and you're struggling with processing them or struggling with resolving them, go seek professional help. Like, I'm a huge advocate for mental health therapy. Like, I've been in and out of therapy my whole life. And it wasn't until I was really ready to confront everything about it, at a really deep level, and seek a professional out and get super, just like as this last season of my life, last couple of years, really confront it, because I noticed that the trauma in my relationships, it would show up in maybe an intimate, like a boyfriend or a girlfriend relationship. a boyfriend relationship, or some of my girlfriends, like some of my best friends, family members that I kept close to me for a long time that I shouldn't have. Just they're just not my cup of tea and I'm not theirs. Like we're just different people. And I don't want anything bad for them, but I just didn't know how to let that go because I had trauma bonded
Yeah.
to them. I had trauma bonded to, like, oh, she wouldn't do that, or he's not like that. I would make excuses. And then when I started really confronting the trauma at a deep level, I was like, oh, there's some things that my husband does to me to this day that kind of triggers me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make my husband a bad person. That tells me, at least you have work to do.
Yeah.
And now you have to have a powerful conversation with your husband so you guys can come to an agreement so that that doesn't happen. And I confront it. I think that that's been the biggest game changer for me in the who I am and being able to be aware of not repeating those patterns as I confronted it at a deep level within my side myself, and then also confronted it in the relationships that mean something to me. And if somebody doesn't want what I have to offer, if somebody doesn't want to respect my boundaries, if somebody doesn't want to treat me well, I don't take it personally. Like there's negativity and their weight of their crap that they have and that they're throwing at me is not my responsibility to carry. And I
Right.
think that's just come from the confronting of the trauma. So I wish I would have done this when I was 20. I just wasn't equipped or just really probably emotionally ready to deal with that. I had to go through a lot of other things in my life, which I'm grateful for. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. But I would just say confronting the trauma within inside myself and healing that and getting really serious about it is really what turned the page for me having healthy and non-healthy relationships.
Yeah. And it seems like, I mean, it's obvious you have really good boundaries in your life. And that's something that it has taken, I don't want to speak for all women my age, but I think that it took some of us, myself included, like myself, number one, it took some of us longer to develop appropriate boundaries. And I look at you and I'm like, gosh, if I had had your boundaries and the ability to confront powerfully at age 34, how much further would I be ahead now at age 56? So I look at you as somebody, a younger person, as somebody who's really able to do this. And so the fact that you've conquered this at this point in your life puts you on a path to so much more, because you're confronting the hard things. Hard conversations they're hard, right? I mean,
Yeah.
conversations that you need to have with people, they're uncomfortable, but you're able to do that now. Also, you're a coach. And so you're coaching people of all different ages, all different backgrounds. um, how are you bringing your own experiences into that? Because you're coaching older people too, right? So how are you using your own life experience as a coach? What does that look like for you?
It's funny that you say that because me being so young has always been like, oh, Laycee, you're so young. Oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm as old as I've been so far. Like
Right,
I'm old. I'm the oldest I've ever been.
right,
Um,
yeah,
but I think for me, I think what's really helped me be super powerful is me being a coach. I
yeah,
hold other people accountable to confronting things that don't work for them. I hold other people accountable to do what they say they're going to do. That's why they pay me. And I've learned the more open and honest and like vulnerable I am. Now, I'm not talking about like, oh, on social media, I spilled the beans because somebody said something to me sideways, or, oh, my husband's irritated me. Like, he irritates me and I irritate him, and we love each other and we disagree and we have powerful conversations and we love each other again. Like, that's marriage, people. That's what a marriage is. And
yeah,
to think that you're not going to have times where you cross hairs or disagree is unrealistic. So I'm just real about,
yeah,
have my husband and I discussed divorce at one point or a couple points in our lives? Yeah, I don't have any shame about that. It's not something to be shameful for. Most people discuss that at some point in their marriage. A lot of people just won't admit it. And so
exactly.
I'm open to talking
That's
about, like, we discussed it. What happened is because we confronted, hey, is this something that may be a possibility for us? It actually made us stronger because we
yeah,
got to come to new agreements And yes, we talked about it, doesn't mean that we use it as power plays, doesn't mean that we do anything. It's not a bad thing to discuss where you're at. It's actually just showed us being more open and more vulnerable and doing what you say you're going to do and holding people accountable and sharing, hey, this is what has worked for me, or hey,
Yeah.
I kicked the front door in and said there's a new sheriff in town after being gone for a week. That did not work for me, so don't do that. I'm just open, and I think the more open I am, the more honest I am, the more just like authentically me I am, the more comfortable I feel, the more confident I feel, and the better it helps me just be a better person. And I just wish more of the world was like that, because they would have this
People
inner
respond.
peace.
I think people respond to authenticity and just people being real, saying, hey, I've been through this. I feel this way. Because the more open you are, the more you give another person permission. You give other people permission to be vulnerable and authentic. And everyone has a story. Everyone has a history. Everyone has issues. We all have a past. But some of us pretend like it really didn't happen or pretend everything's great when it's not. And so the ability to be totally authentic without verbally vomiting all over everybody, because we don't want to do that, but the ability to be authentic is like a superpower for you. So tell me, as you move forward, you're retiring from the beauty industry per se, and you're going much more into coaching and educating and being, a real estate mogul, buying buildings and whatnot. What's next for you? If you could just sum it up, what are you looking forward to? Let me ask you this as we wrap it up. Where do you want your life to be when you're in your 50s? If you can look in the future and see Laycee in her 50s, what does that look like to you?
Wow. Well, something that my husband and I discuss all the time is like, what are we building and what for? And so we're kind of at a point where instead of trading time for money, we're going to start trading money for more money. And that money is going to provide opportunities for other people, which is fantastic. But what does that mean for us? So we're like in this, I'm really glad that you asked me that question, because we're kind of like, what's next for us? Because if we're 34 and we have 50 years of life ahead of us, what does that look like? Because I'm not a sit on the couch type of person. And so really, like, my husband and I would really like to start a family because we're building wealth. Like, we're changing generations and we're impacting people that get to impact their kids and provide more opportunities. And we do it for everybody else. And there's a part of us that wants to do that for us,
Yeah.
too, and for our family, and be able to take care of our family, be able to be there for any of the siblings or our nieces and nephews or parents, grandparents. We want to be the people in our family. If somebody needs something and they're really like, it's not for self-validation or anything. It's because we have built something that can provide opportunities in it for other people, but also for our families. Um, meaning our immediate family. I want to be able to take care of my mother and father-in-law. Like, I want to be able, if one of my siblings needs something or is looking to start a business or invest or needs some advice, like, I would love for them to come to us and us be able to help them with, our family generational wealth and change and impact. So that's kind of where we're at right now, kind of what we want in this next season of our lives. We want a family. We want to continue to invest in businesses, and I have to teach. Like, I will always be a teacher and educator. It's truly my passion. So growing this coaching thing and retiring makes my life just uncomfortable enough to give me the drive to really shift into something that doesn't really exist in salon suite land. Like, we're going to bridge the gap between beauty school and business ownership. I'm going to teach in the schools. We're going to take students in. We're going to turn them into six-figure profiting beauty professionals, and we're going to show them how it's done so that they can collapse time, and then the impact just becomes greater and more fulfilling. So that's kind of where we're going. That's what's next for me. And by 50, almost have kids graduating high school if we if that happens for us soon. So we'll be most likely parents. And if that is not something that's in the cards for us, I'm also okay. We're okay with that. We'll still keep impacting, and we still get to love everybody just as much as we would love, a child ourselves. So by the time I'm 50, like I want this impact to be everywhere. I want to have lots of salon suite companies. I want to have lots of I want to have a platform where people can share their story too as well. Like I want people to know that it's okay no matter what age you are. Yes, I'm young and I've achieved a lot of things young, which tells me if I've done it young, anybody can do it. And even if you're 50, you can do the same exact thing. It just really boils down to clarity and commitment.
Yeah. And what's exciting is you're influencing a lot of other people your age and younger to, get out there and do it too.
Yeah, I want everybody is capable. Some people just see their lives through a different lens. Like some people want to be business owners, awesome. Some people also want to be stay-at-home moms. That is also just as okay. And I think that there's just a stigma around success equals money. And that's not true. Success equals really how happy you are and what you've built and how fulfilled your soul and your life feels, not necessarily about the dollars that you bring in. So as long as we feel fulfilled in our souls, like I'm happy with whatever direction our lives take us.
I love it. And I'll be super excited to watch you as hopefully I'll be able to see you grow into your 50s. Of course, I'll be like well into my 70s and 80s, but I know you'll just have all the success in the world. And how can people reach you if they want to reach out to you just on social media?
Yeah, so Laycee Gwyther, my name is spelled Layceegwyther. My consulting agency is Beauty and the Boss Consulting, and so teach people how to be beauties and bosses at the same time. So you can follow me on social media and just kind of see what I'm up to. I always love to have people interact with me, watch what I do, give me feedback, be my little hype man. I love cheerleaders too, just as much as I like to be cheerleaders for other people. So I'm open to anything.
I love Beauty and the Boss. I think that's a great name. So especially like if anyone's listening, they're in the beauty industry, you'd be a great contact for them to reach out to because you not only educate on cosmetology type things, you're educating these girls and guys, I suppose, on how to build a business and how to create a life that looks well-rounded and successful from every angle. So it's like you're dealing with these people holistically, not just teaching them how to cut hair. So that I love. Any final words?
Thank you so much for having me on. That's a one thing. So thank you so much. Like I just really appreciate it. And if this podcast like literally just moves or inspires one person, like my heart will be so happy. I always just try to move one person with whatever opportunity I have for public speaking or interviewing or anything like that. So if you are that one, I just thank you for being that one for me and in my soul. And then if anybody's ever on the fence about just going for something that they want in their life, I would just say, just go for it. It's going to be messy. It's going to be bumpy. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be uncomfortable and hard. But I will tell you, like, pick your hard. You can have a hard life and settle for the bottom of the barrel, or you can work hard for the things that you want and be at the top. So either way, just go for it.
Great advice, Laycee. Thank you again for being on with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And please, if you enjoyed the program today, please feel free to share. I appreciate you. Get out there and start living your best damn life. Until next time, take care.